Picture this. Thanksgiving Eve, 1971. A man in a dark suit and tie, calling himself Dan Cooper, boards a Boeing 727 in Portland, Oregon, bound for Seattle. He orders a bourbon and soda, lights a cigarette, and then calmly hands a note to a flight attendant. What she initially dismisses as a lonely businessman's phone number is actually a bomb threat. This was the beginning of one of the most audacious and baffling crimes in American history, launching the legend of D.B. Cooper. Who was this man? And how did he pull off the only unsolved skyjacking in U.S. aviation history, seemingly vanishing into thin air? Stick around as we jump into the abyss of this legendary mystery. The note was clear and terrifying. It read, "I have a bomb in my briefcase. I will use it if necessary. I want you to sit next to me. You are being hijacked." The flight attendant, Florence Schaffner, did as she was told. Cooper briefly opened his briefcase, revealing a mess of wires and red sticks, confirming his threat was real. His demands were precise: $200,000 in unmarked $20 bills, 4 parachutes, 2 primary and 2 reserve, and a fuel truck ready in Seattle to refuel the plane upon arrival. That's about $1.5 million in today's money. The authorities on the ground had no choice but to comply. The passengers, completely unaware of the drama unfolding, were told the landing was delayed due to a minor mechanical issue. Upon landing at Seattle-Tacoma Airport, the exchange went smoothly. The 36 passengers were released in exchange for the cash and parachutes. Cooper, however, kept several crew members, including the pilots and a flight attendant, and ordered the plane to take off again, this time heading towards Mexico City. His flight plan was oddly specific: fly under 10,000 feet, keep the landing gear down, and maintain a slow airspeed of about 170 knots. These instructions were unusual and dangerous for a Boeing 727, suggesting Cooper had a sophisticated knowledge of aviation. The pilots warned him that flying under these conditions would severely limit their range, but Cooper was insistent. Sometime after 8 p.m., somewhere between Seattle and Reno, Nevada, in the middle of a raging thunderstorm, D.B. Cooper did the unthinkable. He lowered the aft air stair of the 727, a feat many thought impossible mid-flight, and with the ransom money strapped to his body, leaped out into the freezing, rainy darkness over the rugged wilderness of southwestern Washington. When the plane landed in Reno a couple of hours later, Cooper was gone. The only things he left behind were his black clip-on tie, a tie clip, and 8 cigarette butts. The manhunt that followed was one of the most extensive in FBI history. Immediately, a massive search operation was launched. Over the years, the FBI, military personnel, and countless volunteers scoured the dense forests and mountains of the Pacific Northwest. They searched on foot, by helicopter, and even by submarine in nearby lakes. But they found nothing. No body, no parachute, no briefcase, and not a single one of the 10,000 marked bills. It was as if D.B. Cooper had been swallowed by the night sky. The FBI officially named the investigation NORJAC for Northwest hijacking, and it would remain an active case for an astonishing 45 years. They investigated over 800 suspects, from experienced paratroopers to common criminals, but every lead eventually turned into a dead end. The case remained cold for nearly a decade until 1980, when a young boy named Brian Ingram, vacationing with his family, stumbled upon a discovery that reignited the mystery. While digging in the sand along the Columbia River at a spot called Tina Bar, he found 3 rotting bundles of cash. The serial numbers were a perfect match for Cooper's ransom money. A total of $5,800 was recovered. But this discovery only deepened the puzzle. How did the money get there, miles away from the projected jump zone? Was it washed downstream? Or did Cooper land, bury some of it, and then move on? The find proved Cooper had indeed left the plane with the money, but it offered no clues about his fate. The rest of the $194,200 has never been seen again. The mystery of D.B. Cooper isn't just about a man who disappeared, it's about who this man was. The FBI sketch, based on eyewitness accounts from the crew, shows a man in his mid-40s, about 6 feet tall, with a calm, polite demeanor. He was described as a nondescript business executive type, which made him incredibly hard to identify. Over the decades, dozens of suspects have been proposed by amateur sleuths and even the FBI. One of the most famous was Richard McCoy Jr., a Vietnam veteran and BYU student who staged a similar copycat hijacking just 5 months after Cooper's. McCoy also jumped from the back of a 727 with a large ransom. He was caught, but always denied being Cooper, and key details like his physical appearance didn't quite match. He was later killed in a shootout with the FBI after a prison break. Another intriguing suspect was a man named Dwayne Weber, who on his deathbed in 1995 told his wife, "I am Dan Cooper." His wife later recalled strange details from their life together, nightmares about jumping from a plane, an old knee injury he claimed was from a plane jump, and a trip to the Columbia River area shortly after the hijacking. The FBI looked into him, but his DNA didn't match the partial profile they managed to extract from Cooper's tie. Dozens of other names have been floated, each with their own compelling, yet ultimately unproven, circumstantial evidence. From former paratroopers to disgruntled airline employees, the list of potential Coopers is long, but none have ever been definitively identified. In 2016, after 45 years of dead ends, the FBI officially closed the active investigation into the D.B. Cooper case. They concluded that the resources could be better used on other priorities. However, they still encourage anyone with specific physical evidence, like the parachutes or the ransom money, to come forward. The closure of the official case hasn't stopped the public's fascination. In fact, it has only fueled it. A dedicated community of citizen sleuths continues to analyze the evidence, using modern technology that the FBI didn't have in the 70s. For example, a group of scientists conducted a detailed analysis of the clip-on tie Cooper left behind. They found traces of rare earth elements, specifically titanium and cerium, suggesting Cooper may have worked in a very specific high-tech industry, possibly for a company like Boeing or a related chemical manufacturing plant. This was a potentially groundbreaking lead that emerged decades after the crime. The legacy of D.B. Cooper extends far beyond the criminal case file. He became an instant folk hero to some, a symbol of rebellion, a regular guy who beat the system and got away with it. The audacity of his crime, executed without hurting anyone, captured the public imagination. The incident also had a massive impact on aviation security. Before Cooper, getting on a plane was like getting on a bus. Afterwards, metal detectors became standard in all airports, and cockpit doors were reinforced. The design of the Boeing 727 was even modified with a device called a Cooper vane, a simple piece of metal that prevents the aft air stair from being lowered in flight. His crime single-handedly changed air travel forever. So, what really happened to D.B. Cooper? Did this master criminal successfully parachute to safety, enjoying his riches in anonymity? Or did he, as the FBI largely believes, perish in the jump? The conditions were brutal: freezing rain, high winds, and rugged, unforgiving terrain. He jumped at night into a dense forest, wearing only a business suit and loafers. The odds of survival were incredibly slim, even for an expert skydiver, and the evidence about Cooper's expertise is conflicting. While his plan was brilliant, some of his choices, like taking the non-steerable military-issue parachutes instead of the sport parachutes he was offered, have led experts to believe he may not have been as experienced as his legend suggests. The story of D.B. Cooper is the perfect mystery because it allows for endless speculation. He is a blank slate onto which we can project our own theories and fantasies. Was he a disgruntled veteran, a laid-off airline worker, or just an ordinary man pushed to extraordinary measures? Did he live out his days on a tropical beach, or is his skeleton still lying somewhere in the vast wilderness of the Pacific Northwest, tangled in the tattered remains of a parachute? After more than half a century, we are no closer to the truth. D.B. Cooper remains a ghost, a phantom who stepped out of an airplane and into American folklore. His name is synonymous with the ultimate unsolved mystery, a testament to the fact that sometimes the shadows win, and some enigmas are destined to endure forever. What do you think happened to him? Let me know your best theories down in the comments below. The D.B. Cooper case is a rabbit hole that's easy to fall into, and I'd love to hear your take on it. Thanks so much for watching and going on this journey into one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries with me. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the unknown. See you in the next one.